doesn't blow up with my fat ass on it. You all right?
Be 2 chairs you broke in one.
I know.
One
2 chairs in
weekend.
1 weekend. All right, so we're here in my father's garage. This is where I learned to do almost everything right here in this garage, and a lot of it was on this car right here behind us. Made a lot of my mistakes here. I learned a lot, messed a lot of stuff up, but this is how you learn, right? So this episode is going to be just talking about the garage that built me and getting to know my father, Greg Parks. Taught me a lot that I had to know, and appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I guess probably what everyone wants to hear is you got any embarrassing stories about me? Everyone messes up when they're getting started.
Well, that's true. Actually, I'd have to say the first Flathead engine Zach ever worked on was one of mine, and he took it to high school for a project. It was a single-cylinder lawnmower motor that I was going to make into a log splitter or some other device. It was a Wisconsin 12 horsepower, and it left in running condition and came back in about 1 million pieces.
Hopefully all the pieces were there at least.
I never put it back together. I don't know.
Man.
I suppose they were.
Oh man, that's my bad. Hey, it's easier to take them apart than to put them together.
That's right. You learned a lot on that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So did I.
I learned how frustrating it could be to take something apart.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know. We worked in the garage on a lot of different projects. He had I guess one of his first probably was. Well, he had an '89 Lincoln Town Car. He wanted to be a gangster. Him and his buddies back in the day. He was in a band, and that was kind of their theme, I think. But you know, it was pretty good. And then he had a mishap in it one day and crunched the front end up. So we actually rebuilt it. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Body work.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of good experience for me, even though that was a bad situation. A lot of good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
we put glass packs on it, dual exhaust.
it had a 5.0 in it, so
Yeah.
you can't complain about that.
Sounded real good.
Sounded like a Mustang driving down the street.
Yeah.
I drove it like a Mustang was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember trying to drift in that car. I probably didn't tell you that back then, but
I'm sure you did a lot of things you ain't told me.
yeah, I figured out the brake gas situation and how to spin the back end around. That car would drift awesome until it hooked, and the body roll was ridiculous in that thing.
It was a nice smooth ride, wasn't it?
It was until I got a hold of it. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And you're making fun of my '79.
The '79 pickup truck. He
Yeah.
went into a 4-wheel drive phase for a while. He lifted that thing so high in the air you almost had to have a ladder to get in it.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. When we rebuilt the engine, he had a few glitches, but not too many. I remember some problems with some valve cover bolts. It's just small, 1/4-inch bolts, you know, and so he's putting those on, and he comes in and says, "Hey, I broke a bolt off in the in the head," so we pulled the valve cover off. I got the piece out. Not more than 10 minutes later, he comes in with his head down, says, "Well, it happened again." Second bolt. Third time's a charm, though. He got them all on after that.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't run out of bolts after a while.
Maybe we should have tried a little torque wrench. I don't know.
Yeah, well, a 3/8 is what I had in my hand, so a 3/8 was going to get.
That's right.
Yeah. Now I want to hear some embarrassing stories about my uncles. More specifically, probably Barry. I'm sure he did something embarrassing you could think of.
Barry was pretty hard on the equipment. I think he shelled out several motors and transmissions. The 47 used to belong to Barry, and that's how I ended up with it. He bought the car in Texas and pretty much rust-free. It was all stock when he bought it, and had the motor I give to my uncle, which he's one of the guys that got me into hot rodding big time, because that's what he was doing all the time. Drag racing, hot rods, street rods. He has many street rods.
Bill Purser, right?
Yeah, Bill. And so when I give him the motor, he took the heads off. He said, somebody's been working on this, because it had been ported and different pistons, and I think the cam was bigger in it. So
Oh wow.
consequently, my brother, the only problem is, like we talked about earlier, when you drag race, you start breaking things. He thought he could do a high RPM clutch release, and the transmission just couldn't handle it.
Oh yeah, it had 3-speed in it then,
Yeah.
column shift.
3-speed column
Yeah.
shift, and shelled it, but the rest of the car was really in good shape. I mean,
He's lucky he didn't shear the pin off on the rear axle. That's more common than the transmission on those. The Banjo rear axle.
he may have. It's never been run with that axle since then.
Yeah. Doesn't David have it in his Model A? My cousin.
He might have one of the engines. That's the thing about. You asked why a guy drives Fords. My father and all my uncles and many friends worked at the local Ford plant, Claycoma, Missouri. So consequently, we all had parts, and we could interchange and trade them back and forth. And that's what made us Ford guys.
Yeah. Then I ruined it, huh?
Well, I don't know.
I got all Fords now, so you can't complain. So.
Well, it just took you a little bit. I mean, everybody has to venture out and try something different.
Yeah. I like everything that's cool, and I like what's affordable. And right now, the 350s are just more affordable than 351s.
Absolutely.
The way it goes,
The LS motor, you can't go wrong with that. That's one heck of a motor.
Yeah, guys get tired of looking at it, but it's hard to deny that it's affordable, easy to find one. You can get one out of a junkyard still, and that's going to last until all the junkyards are gone. But, it's hard to beat affordability and easy.
That's right.
You can put it in anything just about. Unlike the Ford's version with the overhead cams, that the engines are so big, it's hard to get them to fit in something like this with a huge engine compartment.
That's right. It wouldn't fit in this car.
Yeah.
Without modification.
Without modifications, yeah. Yeah, we put one in a 69 Mustang, and it was super tight, ridiculous. But the Coyote motor, to be specific.
Right.
But okay. This right here that my dad finished is a '67 Ford Ranchero, and this is what I grew up working on. And I grew up watching my dad work on his '47 coupe back there in the background. We'll show you in a minute. It's raining here, so you're probably gonna hear some background noise, but that's all right. But yeah, so what got you into hot rodding is my question for me.
Well, I've always been into cars ever since I was a young fella. My uncles would buy me model cars, and I built a lot of model cars and watched my little brothers tear them up, by the way. But that's how I started.
Nice. So just model cars. What about Grandpa? I know he liked hot rods and stuff.
Yeah, my father, yeah, he was into cars. He liked them real well. He never built a lot of cars, but he had quite a few different cars. 49 Ford coupe at one time. He had a 66 Mercury, 61 Starliner, which was a very nice car, beautiful. He was a little bit like Henry Ford. He liked black, so most of his cars were all black.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What about his coupe? Did he love that Shelby coupe?
Shelby, yeah, he liked it very much. Me and my brothers helped him build a Cobra replica, 427 car. We had 351 Cleveland in it. And a real nice car.
Yeah. Yeah. So outside from the car that you have behind you right now, what's your favorite hot rod that you've ever had?
Well, I've had a few. One of my favorites was a 27 Roadster. It was a fiberglass body, and I built it from the ground up. Bought a frame from a guy and channeled the body over the frame 4 inches.
That looks good.
Open wheel, no engine cover, open engine. Had a chrome straight axle in the front, 8-inch rear end in the back.
Okay. So did you have drum discs? That was a
drum disc, yeah.
Drum disc.
The front discs were off a '67 Mustang.
What year did you build that?
That would have been about 1980.
1980.
Yeah.
So I know the parts have changed since then. Did you have to go dumpster diving to get stuff? My biggest question: where'd you get the pedals? Did you just make something work?
Well, yeah, the brake pedal, it was an automatic, so the brake pedal come out of a, oh, I don't even remember, something from the salvage yard. And the master cylinder was under the floor. I did have a dual reservoir master cylinder. The steering box was a 68 Mustang steering box. And it had a drag link on it.
Yeah, because it's cross steer and 68.
Yeah, 68, turn the box up on its side.
Yep.
I made a pitman arm for it.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, was that the one that you had when I was little? Or was that a different one?
That was, yeah, when you was real small.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, you grew up hot rodding with your two brothers. Did you guys do a lot of drag racing or something?
Well, yeah. I don't want to tell my age, but back in the 70s, I started out with a 62 Ford van, flat
Drag
nose
raced
van.
the van? Or you just drove it around?
It had I bought the van from some guys that owned a speed shop, and they were drag racing a lot. That was my first car, and those guys didn't have anything that didn't run good, so they put a V8 in this van, had a 3-speed on the column, 9-inch Ford rear end, and actually the front disc brakes off of that van went onto my Roadster.
Oh, nice.
After the van came apart. But anyway, yeah, that was a good running little van. You wouldn't think the van would run good, but it was a lot of fun. Fixed it all up.
Yeah.
I suppose the next hot rod I had after that was a 71 GTO, and it had a 455 motor in it. At the time, we did not know what it had in it. We thought it was probably a 400, but later found out that it wasn't. And yeah, it could it would burn the rear tires off for as long as you wanted to stay in it.
Both of them or just one of them?
Both of them.
Both of them.
It had positive traction.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Very low gear, and real nice car. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Then I ended up with a 65 Mustang. I always wanted a Mustang. And this was in about 75, 77, somewhere in there. And that was the first car I really souped up. I took it all the way down, rebuilt the engine, and back in those days we didn't really have aftermarket heads, so there's a little machine shop we take the heads to. They put larger valves in it, port the exhaust out, and you do a little bit of head work on them, and they run really well.
Oh, yeah. Port and polish is a huge difference in the motor. People don't even understand.
Yeah, just a little bit of cleanup goes a long way.
Yeah.
But that had a top loader 4-speed, and that's where I learned about hot rodding and all the problems that come along with it. Of course, our cars were our daily drivers back then. I drove that car. That was my daily driver, and if you broke it on the weekend, you had to get it fixed before Monday. So consequently, I broke things like U-joints, axles, and every time you beef something up, something else breaks.
Yeah, you figure out what the weak spot is.
I twisted the motor mounts completely out of it, and I barely was able to drive it home. I could only get it in like 3rd and 4th gear, but it fortunately geared low enough I could make it. And shouldn't have probably drove it, but I did. Got it home, fixed it, chained the motor down, some better motor mounts. Then I didn't break much after that because I didn't run it very hard.
Yeah.
I took care of it, but yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but my 79 pickup, I saved up money and bought that lift kit. You remember that?
Right.
Well, that was my daily driver, and I had to go to school that Monday, so on Friday I took it apart and I put the lift kit just on the back and drove it around all week long with just a lift kit on the back. And that was the opposite of the Carolina squat, but
Lift kit on the back.
It was real big because it was
And
like
a nice rake to it.
yeah,
Real
ridiculous.
nice.
And the next week I put the lift kit on the front, so
Yeah.
I think that's why I got that bad habit from you, working on your daily driver like that.
Yeah. gotta get to work or school. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I gotta show off your hard work on your Ranchero for sure, because this is a car I learned how to do a lot of stuff on. I learned how to weld on this car, and I learned how to grind welds on this car, and then you showed me how to bead roll the floor pans. That was pretty cool. When I was young, I was watching you, or you were having me also make floor pans from scratch. So
Right.
when I got older and I realized people could buy those, I thought it was crazy. Like, what? You could buy it for $100 and wait 2 weeks and get it in the mail, or you could make it for 15, 20 bucks at home and have it done in an hour. You know, I just couldn't believe you could buy stuff like that because of you were showing me how to do all this stuff. Thankfully, you really were showing me how to save money because what you were doing.
Yeah.
But you showed me how to mix putty. You showed me how to scrape off putty that wasn't mixed off the car, and I think I spent hours and hours, a couple days, just sanding off putty that I put on way too thick. You know, you gave me a pneumatic sander, and I didn't even know that you could change the paper on it. So I used the same sander but the same paper all day long. I couldn't understand why I couldn't get all the putty off the side of the car, but that's the kind of memories you don't forget. You know, you kind of learn from your mistakes, and this turned out awesome. So I mean, this was kind of like the father-son project for a while, and we did a bunch of little stuff on it throughout the years, and I learned a lot here on that. But when I grew up, I was watching you chop the 47, and I remember coming in all the time when I was little, watching you cut it and weld it and stuff. So for me, one of my childhood memories that takes me back is when I'm welding, the smell, you know, when you're welding something with a MIG, you know, that always takes me back to you cutting that car up and welding that. You know, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably why I like early Ford so much, because that was my first impression on hot rods, was that car. But then we did this one together for a lot, but then you really finished it off after I left. I was active duty Army, and that's what took me away, you know, the first time anyways. And you finished this off, and it looks really good. So I mean, you shaved the door handles. It's the little stuff that people don't realize that makes the whole car look good. And that's kind of what I want to focus on. I don't know if you want to hide that information or not.
No, I've got nothing to hide.
Okay, well, I mean, you shaved the door handles, and that's what makes the side of it look real smooth, real clean. Then you can see the drip rails are cut off, and you cleaned that up. And I really like that look, because it makes the whole side profile of the car, you know, just kind of modernized, but you don't understand why when you're just glancing at it. You know, it all comes together as a package. And I love that look. It looks really nice. But then on the side, then you got the flush mounted glass, and that really brings it all together around the top, you know, with all the little modifications. And I like that you put the vent windows back in it, that you didn't just go full window, because it still keeps the classy look of the car, you know. And you said you brushed the stainless to get that look?
Yes. Yeah.
So what
Just
brush,
build it up.
what do you do to do that?
Basically just some Scotch-Brite.
What color Scotch Brite?
I believe I used a gray.
Gray?
Started with the red and moved down to gray.
Okay. That looks really nice. I like that. It subdues it a little bit, because then the whole car is very dark. What's the actual color of the paint?
It's called Magma Red,
Magma red.
although it doesn't look red at any point, really. I mean, in the right sunlight, the metallic is red. So.
Yeah. Well, in the video in the garage, it's going to look mostly black. But when you pull it out, maybe you can take some pictures later, and we'll throw that in the video where you can see it in the sun. It's one of those metallic colors. As you walk around it, it kind of changes colors with the direction that the light's coming from, you know. That's what makes it look really hot in my mind, is that, you know, you can't get an accurate reading on the car because it's, you know, it depends on where you're at. It's going to change a little bit. It makes it interesting to look at.
Yeah.
When I was little, I always liked the cars. When we go to the shows, we'd walk around it and the paint would just change colors. And one that I remember had like, I don't know, metallic flake in it or something that was like rainbow flake. I don't remember the name of it because, you know, I was too little, but the car would be blue, green, yellow as it hits the sun differently. And just, for me, I think that's where it started my addiction with unique paints that would catch your eye and keep you guessing as you're looking at it, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then I like how you went dark on dark. That's something that's popular right now. So you had the root beer color is what most people think it looks like, but then you have the black stripes like subdued in it. I think that all like comes together and just looks really nice on the outside. You know, the murdered out cars or the black tones, dark tones are really popular right now. It looks good. It looks really good.
Well,
you did a good job on the paint. One thing that I really like that I remember seeing you do is that helped me learn process of metal shaping was you made a buck for your front headlights because you're getting rid of the Fairlane. It has the big nasty aluminum on the front, you know.
Right.
It dates the car a lot, you know. They came off the stainless steel and they went into aluminums there for a little while. And it really just dates the car a lot, and you kind of modernize it a little bit by putting that custom touch on the front of the headlight bezels But what I'm thinking is when I watched you do it and you made the bucks and you're shaping it on the bucks instead of wheeling it, people now you do a lot of wheeling and stuff, but how simple it is just to buck something really accurately than shape metal in a buck. I mean, did you read a book to figure that out, or what got you into making bucks to shape metal?
Yeah, I read books, and various friends helped me out with that sort of thing. And it's not something you just figure out. You got to do your research, and so that's what I did. A lot of research, looked in books. I got several metal books, and started out with that. And like you said, mistakes. I've made a lot of things that once they were finished, they really don't look that good.
Yeah. Well, you put a lot of work into that bumper up there, and you did a 180 off of that one.
Yeah.
But that was interesting watching you do that too. That's where I learned how to fiberglass, was watching you do that.
Yeah, it was maybe a little too radical for this car, so I chose to go with the bumper.
Yeah. Well, you cut it in and pulled it in. I knew you pulled it in a lot just by walking up to it. These Fairlanes, had the big, huge bumpers. It's a truck. It is a truck, and it looks good pulled in. You can't even tell where you cut it or did any modifications, which is hard to do on a bumper because welding it and massaging it. But obviously you didn't chrome it. You painted it. It kind of helped out. Did you put high build primer and all that on that too?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's narrowed and pulled in, and of course the carriage bolts are removed from it. So
you welded them in and then cut them off on the front, or?
Yeah, I ground them flush and welded them and filled them.
Yeah, it turned out really well. I like how that looks. Then you did suspension work too. I mean, a lot of people always ask me, well, what do you do with these Fairlanes, the suspension work, and that's something you have to study too. People don't just know. You can go out and buy stuff for it.
Yeah, there again, books. I got suspension books and read on the different geometry of the front ends. Most of the geometry on the earlier cars was incorrect and had a lot of bump steer, and the weight distribution is different. So lowering the car is one thing, but changing the angle of the upper A-arms. Did the Shelby drop on the inner upper A-arm about an inch down.
What's the Shelby drop? How do you do that?
Well, an engineer at Ford, when Carroll Shelby was getting ready to race the Mustangs, the best I understand the story, don't quote me on it, but the front end was horrendous. Your bump steer and the geometry was wrong, so your different points of leverage were off on it. So what he did was just simply lower the mounting point of the upper A-arm down an inch. On this later model, the early Mustangs, he corrected the
caster was bad on Mustangs. Yeah.
The caster by pulling it back a little bit. So I did that. Plus, it's got coilovers on it, so with adjustable shock, 19-way adjustable shock, which helps the suspension a lot. A larger sway bar in the front. The rear springs are still leaf springs. They've been de-arched slightly to get them a little flatter.
Yeah.
And then the rear shackle mount I moved up into the frame instead of below the frame, which helped lower it a little bit and stabilize it just a little more.
Did you put slappers or a 4-link or anything on the back?
No, I do not have that yet, but
Yeah.
it's something I'm going to work on.
Yeah, keep it twisted, but then again, you're probably not going to drive it that hard, or do you plan to?
Oh, I'd like to spin the wheels every once in a while.
Yeah, not have them bounce like a
That's
basketball on the road. Okay, well, I mean, I remember watching someone doing the scoop and the what would you call the extra scoops, diffusers?
Yeah, exchangers, heat exchangers, or lets the air out of the engine compartment.
I mean, that made it real muscle car look, in my mind. This is a 67. It falls into the muscle car era,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a good touch. But you took 2 hoods, right, and made one.
Yeah, I cut the center section out of one hood and reshaped it, bent it to make the small cowl that's on the hood, and shape the edges, and then use my shrinker stretcher to make it conform to the hood.
Yeah.
And then welded it cut the inside out a little bit, not a lot, just to reduce weight.
You know, it's a real traditional hot rod way of doing it, right? Putting two pieces together.
Yeah.
It's like 60s custom stuff right there. But yeah, that looks great. And your spoiler, it looks good looking at it from the outside. It looks like it's shaped really well. It's like a duckbill spoiler. It's like the right shape for the genre that the car is in. Did you bend steel rods, then fill the rods with sheet metal, or how did you do that?
Yeah, that's the method I use. First, of course, I made cardboard template to see what it looked like, make sure it wasn't going to be hideous or anything. And I tried to keep everything, all the modifications are very mild and subtle, so the average person wouldn't really even know what I've done. People that know the car really well can tell the difference. But yeah, the method I used on that was to build a wire frame and then cover it with sheet metal.
Nice. And I was there for the taillights. The taillights turned out awesome. Did you just make an LED strip on the inside since they're completely custom? Did you use like a 3M LED strip, or what light bulbs are on the inside of that?
They are LEDs. I got them at an electronic shop. Honestly, I can't tell you what brand they are, but they're strips, and you
You
cut
soldered them?
soldered together. Yeah. Made the buckets for the taillights. Put a backing inside that has perforations on it, so you can tie them to that, and solder your wires, and it's insulated, so you don't have to worry about it shorting out.
I use a right angle grinder to cut my plastic glass for lights. Is that what you used, or did you use a heat gun? What did you use to cut that? Because that plastic likes to crack.
Yeah, I was just real careful with it. I used a saw with real fine teeth on it.
Okay.
And just took my time and shaped the plastic to fit in there.
Yeah. And you just ground it with an angle grinder, probably.
A little bit with the sander. Yeah.
Yeah. I ask because I fight with those myself. I use a right angle grinder, a small one, small disc, and it burns it apart instead of cutting it, because I had a hard time with that plastic breaking and the crack going through it.
It'll break if you put something behind it, like a piece of plywood or something, and cut them together.
Cut them together. Oh, that's a good idea.
Do the stroke at the. You still can crack it, but it's a little easier.
Yeah, it's always safe to have extra material on hand. Yeah, I like that, because I like to change the red lenses to white. That's why I always do that. It always looks pretty slick, but it looks great on this car. Then on the interior, what sewing machine did you use to make your pleats?
I just used a heavy-duty sewing machine. It's not a real upholstery machine, so the stitching's a little closer together than I'd like it, but it got the job done.
It was like a Singer or something? Old Singer, I thought, wasn't it?
Yeah, Singer.
Yeah.
I have a real old Singer that.
You know what needle is on that thing?
A sewing needle.
A sewing needle?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know what number it is.
I couldn't tell you.
It didn't break, so that
it
helps.
didn't break. It was for upholstery. That's
Yeah.
all I said. Look, upholstery? Okay, I'm using it.
Yeah. The two downfalls to a machine is it can't feed double folds of leather, or it can't walk it, so your stitches have different links in them. Did you run into that with yours at all, with that old Singer that you used?
Actually, it worked pretty good. The foot underneath of it's got some real sharp serrations, whatever you want to call it. It grabs the material, moves it pretty good. So, no more than what I was doing.
That was good. I like your pleats in the door panel. It turned out pretty good. That's that 60s look. They didn't have leather pleats, but they had like the plastic door covers that had mimic pleats and stuff. So it kind of falls into that era. Still, it looks really nice. And you're trying out new seats, so you're still trying to figure out if you like how they feel, or.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the new seats, but we'll see.
Yeah. Then your dash turned out awesome. It's a custom dash, and the gauge panel looks really nice in there, and you turn it on, it looked great with the lights. So I liked how it all came together pretty good.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to think of what I mean, obviously there's the big trim that goes around the truck bed. That's gone, and you clean that up, and you cut the lip off. Did you just smooth it over, or did you have to fill a gap when you cut that off?
Now the pinch weld, I cut in between each pinch weld, bent the, folded it over, and then I got bent a piece of metal, that you can see on the top rail, and welded it on both sides, so it, you know, helped bring the strength back if there was any loss.
Yeah.
I think it's stronger than it was original.
Yeah, well, it's a unibody, so it needs all the help it can get, and you put the sub rails on the bottom, so that helps too.
Yeah.
But
With the chrome gone, it lets the bed down a little bit lower, makes it look a little sleeker.
yeah,
Not quite so bulky.
right, yeah. What else am I missing, like customized? What have I missed? I know you filled in the vent by the what is that called?
The
Right
cowl?
by the windshield, the cowl by the windshield wipers.
Yeah.
What else did you customize?
Field decal, tail lights, the rear bumper is pulled in, tucked in. I put frame rails connectors under the bottom of the frame. Let's see, some cross members, added cross members, and of course it's a little later model drivetrain than what was in it before.
Oh yeah, of course, 5-speed
Yeah.
makes it drivable. I mean, what would it have had back then? A 3-speed, probably out like a Mustang.
They had 4 speeds back in the
4-speed.
day. Most likely, what come out of it was an automatic.
Oh, okay. Ooh,
But,
Cruise-O-Matic probably. My most revered, hated transmission of all time. I hate Cruise-O-Matics.
No, well, that's probably well, this year would have had the C4 in it, which,
Oh, okay.
which is a good one. But let's see what other modification. The bed, I smoothed the bed, had to reinforce it a little bit, and put the gas filler neck in the tailgate area.
Nice.
So
Then the hood, I can see that right now. You folded it over on the top, on the lip there, or you added the lip or something.
front of the hood, yeah, I made a piece go under the hood to make it look a little smoother around the grill area.
Yeah, that looks sharp. Then, of course, I mean, completely modified the inner fenders and firewall, but that's kind of a given on this type of build, just to clean it up. These firewalls had a million ripples for no reason in them back then. So.
Yes. Moved the wiper motor to the inside under the dash, like a more modern car. Yeah, I left the windshield wiper blades. I want to keep things as close to stock parts as I could in case I break down somewhere. I don't have to mail in order parts for it, so I tried to keep it all, you know, pretty much something you can buy at the local auto parts.
Of course, I edited anything out that's boring. I don't know.
Well, most of it's probably going to be boring.
I don't care. This one's for me.
Just for you.
Yeah, it's just for me. I gotta have a video of this for me every once in a while.
Sure.
Well, the 47. I mean, I love the modifications you've done on that so far. That's your next project now to finish that one. I mean,
Right.
you rounded the doors. You're in the middle of putting door poppers on it, so the door handles are shaved, and you have the emergency latch on the inside that you could pull if your battery was dead.
Yeah.
You just got to add the pop part, right? I mean,
Yeah, the electric part of it. There'll be
Yeah.
a rod that goes down through the floor and for mechanical release, so I can get the door open in case of a problem.
yeah, right.
Not very good for safety. I mean, for thieving,
Yeah,
theft, whatever.
right.
We'll make everything else so nobody can turn it on. So
Yeah,
They'll
you
have
can't
to
turn it on.
put it on a trailer if they want it.
Right. Yeah, I love that body style. I love that body style a lot, and you've had it long enough that whatever you gave for it, I mean, just how it sits right now, you would do more than break even, because coupes, you know, they've gone up a lot. They've gone up a lot. The coupes have gone up so much that the 4 doors are going up, if that makes sense. So
Sure.
it's the coupe. It's really good that you got a coupe sitting in your garage, and that's your next project.
Well, all types of hot rods are nice looking. 4 doors, 2 doors, whatever.
Yeah.
Coupes, sedans, they're all good hot rods. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
them all.
I don't discriminate, that's for sure. I like everything. But
Absolutely.
well, we need to have you come down and work on the projects that we got going on.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Drag racing story on the streets. One time with my GTO, drag racing, a buddy of mine, good friend, Bill Eli, he had a Challenger, and I had this GTO, and we're talking back in the 70s, probably mid-70s, and we went down to where the old drag strip used to be, and it's a local area, and still the streets at the time were long, and it was a business area, no traffic to speak of. It was just being developed, and so we're racing down the end of this drag strip, and of course it's right after winter. I don't know, some of you people in the north know what it's like, salt and sand on the streets, and the It's raining right now, which I'm happy about. It's washing that away. But at the end of the run, we tried to stop, and I slid right off the end of the road into a cornfield. And fortunately, I kept the car running and spun it around. I didn't know if it's damaged or not. Come back out of the cornfield, and only thing was damaged was the front balance gas. Now,
What happened to his car? Did he get beat up?
he
with the
got
corner?
stopped before I got there. He was smart enough. I'm like, why is he slowing down?
He let you win, huh?
Yeah.
So he wouldn't
Oh, you
wreck.
go ahead. It's all yours.
That's awesome. Well, thank
That's
you for giving me the bug. Now it drives me every day. When I wake up in the morning, that's all I think about. And when I'm trying to go to sleep, sometimes I can't sleep because I'm thinking about it too much. I have you to thank for all that.
That's good. Good thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Good sport to be in.
All right. Well, thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
And you do some great work. I like what you do.
Oh, thank you.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. My ass hurts. This is an uncomfortable chair.